All right, Bob, here we go. We got Diggs back.
Yep.
Bland out.
Mm-hmm.
What do we need to know about that whole situation? If Bland doesn't get hurt, is Diggs playing today, you think?
Yeah, I think he is because Schottenheimer, just the way Schotty had talked about him this week, sounded very much like he was responding the right way. We got a chance to talk to him on Friday, and we said, you said he wasn't like checking the boxes that you needed. You need to see him check some boxes. It was like, has he done that this week? Like to this point, obviously you still have another practice and things can change, but to this point, has he done it? And he said yes. And so, I mean, it was very matter of fact, like, yes, he's done what he's supposed to do. And I mean, it was very vague for the last week. He told reporters last week, I don't know why I'm not playing. I wasn't told why. Well, then he tells Jane Slater, apparently, it's because I was messing up in cover two. So it's not like he did know what it was. That probably also didn't make the staff happy that we made it pretty clear and you knew what it was, and then you went out there and represented like you didn't know what it was. So I think overall an attitude change, and it'll be a nice ride off into the sunset, these last 3 games for Trayvon Diggs' Cowboys career. So.
You do feel like that it's done then?
Yes. Yeah. I think it's just...
Do we feel like we've been right about him yet? Seriously.
I mean, if you want to look at it broadly, there's probably not a time we've been right about him at all in his career. Everybody talked trash about him in his second year when he was, the king of interceptions, and he was actually playing pretty well. And then when he came back, maybe it was a little too much criticism. Then there were other times he was getting too much cover. So, probably not throughout his entire career.
I don't feel like I've ever been right about him. I felt like I know initially when he got hurt, I was like, and they were in that run where they had beaten Philadelphia, Kansas City. I'm thinking, you know what? Bring it back. They're in this run. Got to need it. You're going to need this guy. And then all of a sudden, well, he's not practicing hard enough. He's going through the motions. So you're hearing all these things from their side of things, but you're not hearing anything from his side of things.
You know what?
Then you get the concussion. Then it seemed like there was always something. I have yet to be right about him as a person or a player.
You have you've always said the line, and I like it. We've all adopted it about ice cream flavors when it comes to players. But just depends on what kind of flavor of ice cream you like. I'm gonna take a story you told, and I'm gonna kind of co-opt your ice cream line and just say that Trayvon Diggs is an ice cream shop player. That guy you told us about in Jacksonville, who when he got paid, he was just like, all right, thanks, I'm going to go open an ice cream shop.
Ben Coleman.
Ben Coleman. It's
the Stone Cold the creamery place.
Stone Coleman. So I think that for the Cowboys, they felt like they got an ice cream shop player.
Yeah.
That he got paid, and it was like, cool, thanks, going to go do all this other stuff now. And honestly, I think it goes back to his rehab. After the 2013 or 2023, he played the first 2 games. Looked like the best version of the player we've ever seen those first 2 weeks. Then he gets hurt, and I think it was really hard for him doing the rehab stuff and kind of isolated from people. And I think he's still there physically in the building at times, but you're removed from everybody else. And I think the Cowboys felt like when he came back, when he was back into the fold with everybody, he was a different player. He was a different person. He had a different, it appeared, mindset.
Do you think he has a trust problem?
Probably. He always had a chip on his shoulder.
Yeah.
That's always been a thing. Scouts will tell you about when he was at Alabama that he was out there practicing at one point, and somebody had said, this was probably his freshman or sophomore year, and somebody said, oh, that's Stefon Diggs' brother. Like somebody made reference to it on the sideline, and he could hear it. And he heard it, and he turned around, and he took his helmet off, and he was like, I'm Trayvon Diggs. I'm not Stefon Diggs' brother. And then he put his helmet back on. He's always had kind of like a chip on his shoulder about like being his own man and like being respected a certain way and talked about a certain way. And so he definitely has that. I think, well, like when I say his rehab, he came back different, I don't think that literally is not even about the rehab itself. It's about the mindset that returned, where it's like, man, you felt you came home a little different. Like, you got somebody who goes off to college, and they come back from college, and you're like, oh, this isn't the person that I knew once before. Or, whatever those kind of stories that you hear. It's with Diggs, I think it's similar. He came back in a way, it was different. It was not the lack of confidence, but he came back similar to the way Michael Gallup did. Where Michael Gallup came back after his knee rehab, people were like, he's not the same guy.
Yeah.
Like it's and it, like I said, very different ways. For Gallup, it was almost like, this dude's lost all his confidence. He seems uncertain about himself. Like, this wasn't the guy. Diggs came back not really lacking confidence. Diggs just came back a little more, I don't care about this as much as I did at one point.
Should we have known when he said, listen, the $500,000 of not making that part of my contract, when we saw that, should that have been the sign to us that where he really was?
Oh, I think it was
mentally, emotionally, with all that.
I think it showed up last year during the season, where you could see some of the like confrontations he had with reporters outside of the locker room, or he got really, really defensive at one point. Somebody just asked him about. I think it was I can't remember who they were playing last year, but they asked him about some receiver. Oh, what kind of challenges does he present? He's like, he's good. And then when the cameras went down, he went over and he's like, don't ever ask me about how. Ask me how I challenged them. Don't ever ask me how they challenged me. I mean, he got really defensive about some weird stuff last year with the media, and so I think he just came back with a little bit of a different mindset. Came back feeling like he was kind of being attacked a little bit. And didn't like that he was oftentimes blamed for things that weren't his responsibility.
Sure.
Or that, that confrontation he had with Mike Leslie at WFAA was because Mike Leslie had basically assigned something to him that was not. He was doing what he was supposed to on the play, and people were acting like he had just blown it up, and he just snapped a little bit, and so. I think mindset-wise,
I had that happen to me with Jason Witten.
It happens.
Yeah.
It'll happen.
They get mad at you. They do. I don't blame him. If I'm wrong, correct me.
Yeah.
Or teach me one or the other.
Yeah, they'll teach you.
Yeah.
They'll
teach you to shut the F up.
They will not spare the rod.
Yeah.
They'll come over. They'll tell you about it. So I think he came back. They felt like, all right, this isn't the guy we proposed to.
Yeah.
When we made a proposal and saw the rest of our lives with this guy, he's different now. A long-distance relationship changed things for us.
Is it him or the front office to blame for this then?
I think, obviously, you have to preface it by saying you hear more from one side than the other. Diggs is not one that
I feel bad that I don't always hear his side. I think Jane did a good job of trying to get his side out there the other day. But I feel like, to me, this is
what happens when you fire an agent. You don't have one, and everything, and you don't want to talk. Like, nobody's out there to really represent your side. But even still, no, I think that you obviously hear more from Diggs' opposite than Diggs' side.
Yeah.
But I think given what we could hear, and even if you kind of sift through what is probably like, that may be sour grapes or whatever else, I think it's still pretty clear. Like, the majority of this has come down to Diggs.
Yeah.
Diggs has not wanted to fall in line with a lot of what they're doing, and they've gotten buy-in from just about everybody else on the team. Diggs has been a resistance point, and that's been tough for them.
Cowboys insider Bobby Belt with us here on The Fan. Matt Eberflus, defensive coordinator, goes into the booth for today's game.
It's my favorite change.
Yeah.
It's my favorite change every year is when the job is on the line.
Is that to say, get the hell off the field? I don't want to see you anymore?
I always love it because it's whenever things have really gone south, that's when you start doing that. I've heard they'll talk about marathon runners. And they're like, when a marathon runner starts messing with a shoe, like, I think I need to change my shoes. They're like, oh, gosh, you're cooked.
You're
cooked if you're like,
trust me.
It's the footwear.
I've been there.
Is the booth to sideline or sideline to booth is the equivalent of something's wrong with my shoes. Where it's like, no, come on, dude. So Mike Nolan was the opposite. Mike Nolan was up here, and they're like, we're moving him down to the field, getting him really in it, let him feel the game a little more. It's going to be better. This is now, I got to get him up to the booth. I think it's just a nice, quiet 3 games. You don't have to be on the sideline. You can just kind of be removed from everything. And similarly to Diggs, right off into the sunset.
Do you feel like the die has been cast then?
Yes. Yeah. I think you heard Jerry Jones last week. That sounded like.
Was the Minnesota game the tipping point?
I think the last 2 weeks built up, but especially Minnesota.
With their quarterback that really hasn't done.
Like, I mean, Jerry said it during the week with us, where he goes, it seems like quarterbacks are always having their best game against us, and I think that's telling. And then you go, okay, well, is something wrong with the personnel? Nope, personnel fits.
Yeah.
Personnel fit. Okay, well, and I mean, he even said it postgame last week. He was talking about Flores, and he goes, yeah, Flores, they like to show a lot of different stuff, and then he likes to get out of it. And he goes, we kind of do things a different way. There's one out. And it's like, okay, he was very pointed. If it's just a motivation tactic, that's uncomfortable motivation. I wouldn't love feeling that, because every answer he gave this week, it felt like.
Okay.
Every single one circled back to Matt Eberflus hasn't done enough.
Okay,
right?
since you feel that way, I know we have maybe a couple minutes here.
Yeah.
Where do you feel like it went completely wrong? If you could point out one thing, where do you feel like it went wrong?
I think that a big part of this is obviously that to me is just in general a scheme that I think you walked away from 6 years ago, 5-6 years ago, where you looked at and said that you didn't want to do the Rod Marinelli thing anymore.
Right.
You didn't want to operate things that way. It's similar in that sense.
Yeah.
clearly he's got issues communicating with players.
Okay.
This is 2 stops in a row where that's been a problem.
Should he, if he would have had the year off thing, would he have been coming back next year would have been better for him?
I think jumping right back into it
hurt him.
I think that's a different person than was here coaching in the building 7 years ago. It's somebody who's been a little damaged by things, is a little more. I think he's felt, to be completely honest, and not to put the words in his mouth or ascribe things to him. I think he's felt terrified sitting up there talking to the media every Thursday, and I think that he's had issues communicating with players. I think players feel like he hasn't connected with them the way Schottenheimer has established throughout the rest of the building that they've gotten. I think that, for it to be, it's been said a lot this week, or in the last couple weeks, and John Machota said it to me last week, but he was like, one player, just name one player who's a better player on defense this year with him. Yeah. You can't find it. And so I think that's somebody who, the same sort of rehab that Dan Quinn went through, Mike McCarthy went through, some of these other coaches have got a year off to study different things, and also Dan Quinn, ESPN wrote the story about how made him contact all the other former coaches he had worked with him and did you ever feel like I wronged you? Did you ever feel like I did anything and just really evaluate your people issues? I think that's going to be a big thing for him, but it's tough for him, and something that I think is tough for the Joneses because they really like him. But I think you are looking at 4 coordinators in 4 years, so.